Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a bookshelf scavenger hunt video. Now, I already have my book picked out. Now, how did that happen, you may ask? Because in the bookshelf scavenger hunt, you're supposed to film yourself as you go through the prompts, and then the final book you land on is supposed to be what you read. Well, my friends, I filmed this video once, and it had no audio. So, we are going to be doing kind of something a little bit different. So the book I landed on, the first time I filmed this, is Educated by Tara Westover. Now, I was really excited to get this book because I don't normally read nonfiction, and I've been really interested in this book, but I wouldn't naturally pick it up. Like, it's not something that I would mood read. So I was kind of excited to get it for a video because then I would be forced to read it. Now, this book is about our author who was originally homeschooled on a homestead, and after a family member goes to college, decides she wants the same for herself. And then it's kind of a following her on her journey as she gets her education, and then how that has made a difference in the course of her life and in the course of her relationship with her family. So here's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be reading this book in this video because I was excited about it, but we're also going to go through the prompts again, and we're going to be reading a second book in this video because I am technologically challenged. But on the bright side, more content for you guys. So with that being said, we're going to start this process all over again. The first prompt is to pick a book with a cover that you love. See, the issue is not that I don't like any of the covers, it's that I like too many of the covers. All right, we have a winner, which is the Fake Out. Now, I realize cartoon covers might be a little controversial, but I frankly like them. And if there's a 10-year-old shopping in the adult romance section, then we have bigger problems than the cover. Now, the next prompt is to find a book with similar tropes. So I would say the biggest trope in this book is, in fact, fake dating. So let's go find a book that also has fake dating in it, which I'm probably going to have to go back to the romance shelves for, to be honest. Okay, so a book with fake dating, Love Light Farms. In this book, we have two best friends who fake date in order to help our female main character's business. So I think that the tropes are pretty similar, so we'll go with this one. The next prompt is to find a book with a similar cover. So I think I might have done myself in with this one, but we'll see what I can find that is close. We might have to go with a similar color scheme instead of a similar color. Okay, so for a book with a similar cover to Love Light Farms, I've decided to go with The Memory of Babel by Christelle Dubois, which is the third book in the Mirror Visitor series. So with that being said, the next prompt is to reverse the page count and find a book with that number of pages. So let's see how many pages this book has. Okay, so this book is 447 pages, if you can see that there. All right, so we are gonna be looking for a book with 744 pages. So 700. Oh, these are out of order. I literally just reorganized my bookshelves in an effort to make room, and yet they're not in order. What was I doing last night? Okay, 744 pages. I suspect we are going to have to pick something off of the fantasy shelves just because romance books are not typically 700 pages, nor should they really be 700 pages, in my personal opinion. So all right, so we have ourselves a winner. This book, Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh, is 752 pages without the epilogue and 757 pages with the epilogue. The next prompt is to read the dedication of this book, and then I either need to find a book with one of the words in the dedication in the title, or if there are people named, I need to find a book with an author that shares the same name. So let's hope Miss Quali Walsh does dedications, because some authors do not. Redeeming Six is dedicated to the boys I went to secondary school with, whose shenanigans, friendship, banter, hilarious antics, and blind loyalty inspired the characters of Johnny, Gibbsy, Feely, and Huey. Walshy / Al and Madden, the OG boys of Tommen, and yeah, I married the first one. Oh, that's kind of cute. So the guy, she married the guy that Joey from the first 2 books is modeled off of. All right. So I think the easiest word in the title might be boys. For a book with a word in the title that was in the dedication, I have The Boys in the Boat by Daniel James Brown. This is a nonfiction about the 8, which, and I actually rode in high school, which is why I have this book. Or more accurately, I was a coxswain, Coxswain. But that's like the little person with the headset who yells. But this is about the 8 who went to the 1936 Berlin Olympics and their quest for gold. The next prompt will be finding a book that was published in the same year. Now, I think this book is kind of on the older side, so this might be a little bit difficult, but let us see when this was published. Copyright 2013. All right, so I have to find a book that was published in 2013. We did it. We did it. Okay. For another book that was published in 2013, we have Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Ooh, sorry. I'm thrilled because this took 5 years and a day. But this is a wonderful book and was also turned into a wonderful movie. So if you ever have an opportunity to watch it, I totally would. So that's our book that was published in 2013. Our next job is to find a book with the same number of letters in the title as this book. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we're looking for a title with 15 letters in it. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ugh! Keep getting 14. We need 15. So close. Ha! Okay, we have a winner. I picked Trickster's Queen by Tamara Pierce. Now, this book is one of my all-time favorite books. In fact, this author is one of my all-time favorite authors and always will be, but this is the second book in the Tricksters duet. I would just highly recommend you read it. It is about a girl who is the daughter of a nation's spy master, and she gets in a fight with her mom, dips out for a little bit, and when she not quite runs away from home, she has a destination in mind, which is a family friend, but on her way there, she ends up kidnapped by pirates and sold off as a slave in another nation. And once she is there, she lands in a household that is of special interest to one of the gods in this world. And his name is Kiprioth. He decides to make a deal with her. If she aids his agenda for a set period of time, he will make sure she makes it back home safely. And in aiding Kiprioth, Allie ends up well and truly embroiled in this nation's politics. So, delicious books. If you have not read them, highly, highly recommend. The next prompt is to open the book, count the letters in the first 3 words of the book. Now, the exception is the first couple letters. If it's an A or an I can just skip it because we don't want to hunt for anything with 100 plus words in it. So, the first sentence is in the winter of. So I'm going to extend my rule a little bit. We're not going to do in because I don't want to hunt for a book with 200 pages. Is that cheating a little bit? Maybe, but is this my video? Yes. Okay, the winter of. So 362. So we're looking for a book with 362 pages. So for our 362 page book, I'm going to go with This Sentence is Death by Anthony Horowitz. It is 369 pages, I believe. Yes, 369. So we are close. So the last prompt is to find a book whose title starts with the last letter of this title. So I need to find a book to read that starts with the letter H. And that book is Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan. I love me a good sports romance, and I've heard wonderful things about Kennedy Ryan as an author. So I am super excited to get started on the Hoops trilogy. And so, with that being said, in this video, we will be reading Hookshot and Educated. Now, do I know which book I'm going to start with? No, but we will see in the next clip what I pick up. I think I'm going to probably, whichever book I can find on audiobook is probably what I will roll with, since I have some house chores I need to do, and it would be nice to listen to a book while I do them. So I will see you when I next check in with you. So I am just under halfway through Educated by Tara Westover. Now, this book, let's talk about it. It is good, but it is absolutely infuriating. So this book starts when Tara is 7. She is, of course, as I mentioned earlier, homeschooled on a homestead. Her mom is a stay-at-home mom, but there are points where she kind of does odd jobs. She is an unlicensed midwife at one point. Her dad runs a junkyard where he does scrap work and also helps build like barns and that kind of thing in the area. So like a very small construction business. And Tara is the youngest of, I believe it was 7 kids. And their parents are just very much like, you get hurt, mom will take care of it. We're not going to the hospital. And her dad, uses his kids as like free labor and puts them in many a dangerous position. Now, I realized that there was a time where this was not uncommon, where you used your kids as there was a time where it wasn't uncommon that kids, especially in farm families, were expected to do labor. It wasn't always safe, but I just find Tara's father infuriating. They're Mormon. There's a lot of this is not godly, this is not holy, pray on it. And I'm just finding just the fact that he willfully puts his kids in dangerous situations and discourages them from, going to school and going to college. Every year it's, well, you can go to school if you ask your dad. And then, he's like, well, can you just put it off one more year because of this? So it's really, he doesn't want them in school, but there's the illusion that that choice is there. And we're at the point where Tara has taken the ACT and has prospects to go to college and kind of announces that she plans on doing it. And her dad just lectures her night after night about how this is unholy and ungodly, and she's lusting after men's knowledge. And I just her dad is so frustrating, and her mom just kind of rolls over. Like at one point, she and her father disagree on the whole college thing, and he wants her to move out. And initially, her mom disagrees, and then her mom just like rolls over. And Tara's like, "I'm 16. You can't kick me out. Where am I going to go? Who's going to rent to me?" And her mom's like, "Oh yeah, honey. Sorry about that. Forget it." Like, why? So we'll see how this ends. All right, I have officially finished Educated by Tara Westover. Now, if you have not read this book yet and you are interested, or it has been on your physical TBR for a while and you just haven't gotten to it, I highly recommend you read this. This is an excellent book. The second half of this book was significantly less infuriating than the first half. Without getting too much into it, obviously, the reason I found the first half so particularly infuriating is because her father has a tendency to willfully put his children in danger, and then once they inevitably get hurt, not finding them adequate medical treatment. And it's just very frustrating to know that a lot of this could have been avoided, and a lot of the lifelong medical complications that some of her family members have could have been avoided through proper medical treatment. So it's just all around incredibly aggravating and incredibly frustrating. Now, it's kind of a duh moment that the second half of this book is less frustrating, mostly because the second half of the book follows Tara as she goes through her formal education. She initially starts out at BYU, or Brigham Young University, which, if you are unaware, is a Mormon-based university. And then she proceeds to study abroad at Cambridge, and then go on to Harvard for higher education beyond, her initial college degree. And as she gets deeper and deeper into her education, the more she has to reconcile the world she came from and the principles that she was raised with her new world and her new life, and the fact that she is now using her critical thinking and applying it to her past and what she's been taught and what she's been taught to believe. And in doing so, she starts to obviously drift away from her family, and then she has to reconcile whether or not that is okay with her. And if it's not okay with her, how much of herself she's willing to give up in order to compromise with her parents' perspective on life. But I just think it was very brave of her to write this book. After all, you kind of find out part of the way through the book that she does do some interviews for some publications, and her family, specifically her father, is not particularly receptive to how she presents herself and presents her childhood. But like I said, it is definitely worth the read. I am not a big nonfiction girly at all, but this landed on my books to read in 2025 list for a reason, and I am so happy that I got to it, especially so early in the year. All right, so our next read for this video is going to be Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan. Now, I don't know much about this book beyond the fact that people seem to love Kennedy Ryan's writing, especially This Could Be Us, and that this is a sports romance. So with that being said, let us read the back to find out what we are getting ourselves into. She's not the plan he made, but she's the risk he has to take. A single divorced dad. I did not realize this was single dad, but always down. In the final years of his basketball career, Keenan Ross's perfect life has blown up in his face. He's still picking up the pieces when he meets Lotus Dupree, a wildflower, a storm, a kick to his gut, and a wrench in his plans from the moment their eyes meet. He promised himself he'd never trust a woman again, but he's never wanted anyone the way he wants Lo. At 25, Lotus is finally living out her dream, becoming a force in New York's fashion scene. Focused on her future and not looking for love, she's seen where trusting a man leaves you. Keenan is the last thing she needs, but from the moment they meet, she's drawn in, even if he's 11 years her senior, okay, age gap, and her opposite in every way. When Keenan moves to New York for the summer to be near his daughter, Lotus can no longer avoid the attraction. Kind of wonder where they meet if they didn't meet where they, like, if they don't live in the same place. Lotus can no longer avoid the attraction that pulses between them, but she still won't let him in, not after what she's been through. Even though Keenan wants her so badly, he'll do anything to knock down her defenses. He won't give up on her, and soon she's no longer sure she wants him to. All right. Well, I will see you guys at the halfway point. Hello, my friends. We are at the halfway point of Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan, so I figured I would do a check-in. Now, much to my chagrin, after I started this book, I found out that it is, in fact, book 3 of the Hoops trilogy. So I would have preferred to start with book 1 or 2, but we're in it now, and I'm happy to say that I think this book might be 5 stars. He is down bad for our girl. He is acts of service. He is, if he wanted to, he would. Oh my God, I am dying. So this book follows Lo and Keenan, as I said before, and they have met prior to the events of this book. And this is why I think it might have been good if I had read book 1 or 2 first, just because they know each other through a couple in one of those books. So Iris is Lo's cousin, and Keenan is August's teammate. So if I had read Iris and August's book, maybe I would have gotten like their first meeting or something like that. But they are immediately drawn to each other. But at the time, Lo has sworn off intimate relationships with men. That's not to say she's not sleeping around, but she's not trusting anybody. She's not forming any emotional attachments to anybody. And she feels that she could have that with Keenan and therefore wants to steer clear of him. And then Keenan is immediately drawn to her, but he's experiencing a really messy divorce with an ex who he feels maybe was with him for some of the right reasons in the beginning, but as his career in basketball has gained prestige, is now with him for his money and his fame, and who has cheated on him. And so he divorces her. She absolutely drags it out and drags their, I believe she's 12-year-old into it. And she is just kind of a wench, like, I won't lie. But at the start of this book, Lo has now sworn off men completely. She's no longer sleeping around, in addition to her ban on trust and intimacy. And Keenan is finally free of his ex-wife, and they run into each other again because Lo works at an atelier, a fashion atelier, and the atelier is looking for a watch spokesperson. And the photographer that Lo was sleeping with prior to the events of this book remembers meeting Keenan and suggests him as their model / spokesperson for the watch line, which I think he comes to regret because Lo and Keenan's connection is very obvious to anybody watching from the beginning. So the two of them cross paths again, and after some tension and a game at a party that eventually leads to the two of them kissing, agree to have a simple friendship. Now, I think we all know where that is going. Simple and a friendship, I think, are 2 words that would not even come close to what's going on with these two. But Keenan is very respectful of Lo's boundaries. He's very much like, I'm down bad, but I'm also not going to run you off by getting too close, too fast, wanting too much, disrespecting you and what you are comfortable with. So they proceed to go out on not dates and hang out as just friends and form attachments to each other. And he's very much like, we've kissed once, but that was at a party. So the next time we kiss, it's going to be your decision. And the next time we kiss is going to be because we are more than friends. And oh boy, have we gotten to that point in this book. So it is kind of, it's a slow burn, but not, because their connection is immediate, but it takes a while for Lo to decide that this is worth risking her heart for. And in addition, Keenan is trying to take it slow because Simone, his daughter, has not been handling her parents' breakup very well, and Bridget, his ex, is also desperately trying to get back together with him. And that being said, I think that their respective exes, the photographer and the ex-wife, are going to be issues down the line. I really hope they don't have anything to do with the 3rd act breakup. But honestly, that would be preferable to some miscommunication happening here. I hate the miscommunication trope. It is the worst. But I, really don't like either of them. They both seem to feel some proprietary ownership for Lo and Keenan respectively, and that just kind of gives me the ick. Like, just because you had somebody at some point doesn't necessarily mean that you have a right to them forever. And, Bridget at one point shows up at Lo's job and warns her off of Keenan, which, like, woman, how dare you? You cheated on him. That is why you guys are no longer married. But we're kind of at the point where the two of them are getting together, and I am down for the dating phase. So we will see where this goes, but hopefully, like I said, there's no miscommunication. So far, they've both been really good communicators, and Lo has decided that maybe it is time to seek support for what she went through as a child that is causing her to pull back and not trust people and not trust men especially. So hopefully we see that. Maybe she gets into therapy. Right now, Keenan and his ex, Bridget, are with Simone in like family therapy to kind of help her through the transition. So I'm loving the positive representation of therapy and using it to better your circumstances and better your children's lives. And I think that watching Keenan be so supportive of Simone and Simone's needs and putting Simone first is really helping Lo heal a little bit and be able to trust him, because she feels that her mother did not protect her when she had the opportunity to do so. So I'm excited to see where this book is going. Like I said, I am teetering on 5 stars right now. I think this could probably at the lowest be 4 if the third act really disappoints me, but I am excited to see how this ends. So hopefully the next time you see me, we will have a 5-star read, but if not, either way, I am so enjoying this book. All right, I have officially finished Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan, which is our second book for this video. Now, I predicted this would be a 4.5 to 5-star. I am both happy and sad to say it is going to be a 4-star read. Now, I really enjoyed the relationship between the characters. I enjoyed the plot and all of that. However, this is supposed to be a sports romance. And in my mind, a sports romance is more along the lines of like Vancouver Storm and the Windy City series, where the sport features heavily in the book. So, for example, like if they're a hockey player, hockey features, like they're going out to the bar with the team and the teammates are the found family and like that kind of thing. And so this book did not have that. And maybe this is just me being a little unfair or a little harsh on it, but Keenan is a pro ball player, and the reason I didn't have an issue with the fact that it wasn't featuring more beyond like that was what he does for work is because it was the off season. So like that's why he has all this time. It's summer. He's in the city because he doesn't need to be in San Diego right now, which is where his team plays out of. But obviously, at some point, practice starts back up, the season starts, and so I kind of expected that at that point basketball would feature more heavily in this story and in this plot, and it just didn't. Like beyond the fact that like it affected their relationship because their relationship became long distance, it really didn't feature. And like I was kind of expecting that it would, because as I mentioned before, Lo and Keenan kind of met prior because of her cousin and his teammate and their relationship. So I was kind of expecting like the team to end up featuring more heavily in the second half of the book, but it just kind of didn't. And that bothered me. Like I read this for it being a sports romance, and it felt more like a contemporary romance than a sports romance, which is fine. It's just not what I was expecting and not how I feel the book was marketed. So loved the book, but kind of felt a little bit lied to, a little sold short, I suppose. But sorry, I hear cat noises and I'm suspicious. But with that being said, the second half of the book I did enjoy. The third act breakup did not come from a source I expected. Let's just put it that way. Now, the third act breakup, I'm not going to get obviously into it, but it happened out because for reasons outside the couple, which I do prefer for sure. I do not love it when it's like a couple's insecurity or a couple's miscommunication that causes the third act breakup. I do not love it. But the third act breakup in this book definitely came from an outside source and was serious, was very much serious. So I would definitely say check the trigger warnings for this book before you read it. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Lo's childhood and the abuse that she suffered at the hands of her mom's boyfriend, but there are more serious themes that come into this book. So read your trigger warnings before you go into this book in case that this is something that you just cannot do. But I almost feel bad saying this because of the serious nature of the third act breakup, but it almost felt a little bit anticlimactic. It felt appropriate to the characters, but it also just felt like, oh, so that's why this is why we're having issues. And it was kind of I don't love that. And then how they got back together was also kind of anticlimactic. It wasn't like we sorted out our issues. It was like something else serious happened, and now we're like, oh, so we could potentially lose time together by screwing around. So, I was so very sold on this book until we reached the second half. And then I had issues, like I said, with the fact that Ball didn't feature more heavily and the third act breakup. It didn't sit well with me. And then how they got back together also didn't sit well with me. So 4 stars, definitely worth a read if you are interested in a sports romance that really is more on the side of contemporary. If we're right here and this is sports romance and this is contemporary romance, I think this book is kind of right there. So let us wrap up this video. Like I said, 4-star book. I am excited to read Long Shot and Black Shot, which are books 1 and 2 in this series, because of course I read them out of order. And then just quickly wrapping this up, we also did read Educated by Tara Westover, which is a memoir of our author's life and her journey going from homeschooled in a homestead to parents who are very Mormon and very end of times to having a doctorate and how that has affected her relationships. So both books definitely worth a read. I think that I did well with my first ever bookshelf scavenger hunt. And with that being said, thank you so much for sticking around and watching the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to stick around in general, please subscribe. Either way, thank you for joining me today. Bye.